Our correspondent Hoda Abdel-Hamid is standing by for us in Doha. We can cross to speak to her now. Why are Gulf states still being targeted? I mean, what are we supposed to make of these continued attacks?
Well, I think any ceasefire at the beginning is very fragile, and usually the parties involved in that ceasefire would try to send a message that comes in the form of attacks. I cannot tell you exactly what's the thinking behind these attacks that took place really throughout the last 24 hours, a bit all over the Gulf area, whether it's Kuwait that said by midday today, Kuwait had said that it had been under constant attack for about 5 hours straight, and said that several residential houses had been damaged. We heard also about damage at a oil installation in Abu Dhabi. Here in Qatar, debris had fallen over a house, injuring 4 people, and including a young child. So certainly Iran is sending a message that it can continue attacking and it can continue reaching the Gulf countries as much as it wants, as long as as much as it wants, despite what President Trump keeps on saying, that its military capabilities have been completely destroyed.
And Hoda, how will the Gulf countries now be looking at the 10-point plan put forward by Iran?
But I think they've been looking at it very closely, and there's certainly a few points there that worry the Gulf countries. First, above all, being the fate of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Iran says that it wants control over that strait. It might want to impose tariffs for ships going through. Well, here are the 2 problems. Iran does not have full control of the Strait of Hormuz. At least that was the situation when it went into this war. It is divided. To the north, you have Iran, and to the south, you have Oman. The second point is there's a lot of traffic going through that strait, a lot of gas when it comes, for example, to Qatar, a lot of oil when it comes to other countries. So what sort of tariffs are we talking about? These are 2 very important issues when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz. And then there's the other issue, which is Iran is asking for all U.S. combat troops to leave the region. That basically means the evacuation of all the bases in the Gulf region. From the Gulf countries' point of view, these bases still provide some sort of security in the wake of Iran expansionist policy that has been going on for decades. And Gulf countries would look at the other countries in the region like Iraq, Yemen, Syria, who did not have any kind of American presence, and what happened to them. So certainly this is another issue that we look at, especially that it is really at the end of the day a sovereign decision by these GCC countries on whether they want or not U.S. bases to remain on their soil in the future. So certainly a lot of sticking points here that the Gulf countries will be worried about and would be communicating their points of view to both Pakistan and the United States.
And is the Israeli bombing in Lebanon likely to change the course of all of this in any way?
Well, that is the big worry tonight across the Gulf and probably across the whole region. If you look at the statements that came out from the Gulf countries earlier in the day, welcoming the ceasefire announcement, saying that it was a good step, calling on Iran to stick to it, saying Oman, for example, saying there was no time for complacency. Well, tonight the issue is quite different, and certainly calling on restraint. Now, Israel is trying to separate Lebanon from Iran. anyone in this region would tell you that it's all interconnected. It's a whole regional issue, and that's probably the one point where Iran and the GCC countries or the wider Middle East agrees on, that all these issues, all these struggles, all these files are all interconnected. To try to separate them would be very difficult. There is a feeling, and I spoke to many people here, just normal citizens, that this is another attempt by Israel to thwart the ceasefire. This coming on the background that they were already twice in very serious negotiations with the United States, and both times that had been thwarted. So certainly that what had going on in Lebanon, plus the closure again of the Strait of Hormuz, has increased the anxiety again in the region tonight.
All right. Thank you very much indeed for now. That's Hoda Abdel-Hamid, our correspondent in Doha.